Although Europe is very great at having countries that focus very much on peacekeeping and have great systems in place that are for its people, there is another country across the pond that sometimes feels very much like a European country, with its semi-social systems in its government and even having an attitude towards peacekeeping, and that is the country of Canada. What's going on, guys? My name is Dave Wapple, and welcome to FTD Facts, the channel where I look at people, cultures, and places from all around the world. Now, if it's your first time here and you like learning about different places, you like to find out the differences about different countries, well, you want to hit that subscribe button because that's what we do. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the great country of the Netherlands and compare it with my country, the great, awesome country as well, known as Canada. Also, with that in mind, guys, before we get into the whole video, if you guys like this content and you want more, well, just hit the like button, because if I get a lot of likes, I'll do either a part 2, which might actually have to happen for this one because there's so much information, or simply I'll just do other stuff revolving around these two countries. So let's get right into it, guys, and with our first difference, let's talk about the names of these countries, because the Netherlands is also called Holland, and it's got a nickname where Canada really doesn't. Although sometimes Canada is known as the Great White North, it's not as common to many people around the world, much like the Netherlands and Holland is to other countries. And to dive further into the names of these countries, let's take a look at the differences of why these countries adopted their names. Because for the names of these two countries, they come from completely different sources. For example, in Canada, although historians are not 100% sure of this, they do say the word Canada comes from the Huron-Iroquois word Canada, which for the Iroquois and Huron people meant village, because it was back in 1535 when two Aboriginal youths told Jacques Cartier, who was a French explorer, about a route to Canada, which was actually in reference to a village which in today's world is pretty much Quebec City. So the name was actually misinterpreted and they thought the whole land kind of meant Canada. But for the country of the Netherlands, it was named after what was initially a union. Now, this was a union for the 7 Low Countries who joined forces together to fight against the Spanish for independence. And this was all during the 80-Year War, but when it comes to the name Holland, that actually comes from the provinces within the country. And one thing that's also a major difference, especially when I talk about the French, is the languages between these two countries. In Canada, we have 2 languages, that is English and French. Seriously, we have like DVDs and books and even ads. They've got English and the French on it as well. And as for French Canada, it is known as Quebec, and that province, the main language is French. However, for the Netherlands, they state that they only have one official main country language, and that is Dutch. But keep in mind, the country has stated that it also has 3 official regional languages, like Frisian, which is a West Germanic language that is mainly in the province of Friesland, Papiamento, which is a language that is located in the Caribbean, and of course, English. And of course, when it comes to the major differences, I do want to talk about the Caribbean very shortly, but first, let's continue to talk about population and people. Because for these two nations, the population size is actually quite different. Canada has a population of 37,067,011 people as of a 2018 estimate, making it the 38th largest country in terms of population in the world. The Netherlands population sits at 17,272,990 as of a 2018 estimate, which makes this country rank 66th. And within these two countries, the demographics are also quite different when it comes to people's origins. For example, in the Netherlands, they say approximately 77% of the people are Dutch, while 9.88% are other Europeans, 2.34% are Turks, 2.29% are people from Morocco, as well as 2.13% are Indonesian, and as well as 2.05% are Surinamese. Of course, when it comes to these demographics, there are a lot of other people that are from other parts of the world as well. But for Canada, when it comes to its demographics, 32.32% of the people are Canadian, 18.34% are English, 13.93% are Scottish, 13.55% are French, and 13.43% are Irish. Of course, a little over 9% are German, and about 5% are Chinese, as well as many more. So both are very multicultural sort of countries, but you can see that Canada's just got a lot more diversity within it. As well, when it comes to these people, we should also look at religion, because for about 50% of the people in the Netherlands, they identify as irreligious, while 43.8% identify as Christians. And although there are other religions within the country, 4.9% of that also identify as Islam. Canada, however, has approximately 39% of its people who identify as Catholic, while 28.9% identify as Christian. And for irreligious or non-religious people in Canada, that comes to about 23%, while approximately 3.2% of the people follow Islam. Also, let's jump back to the Caribbean. One thing that's a major difference between these two countries is that the Netherlands has Caribbean islands and Canada does not. Although Canada does have multiple islands, the Netherlands has stretched out further with its islands way across the pond. And these are islands like St. Martin, Aruba, Curacao, Bonaire, and many more. However, when it comes to the land size, this is where there is a major difference because Canada is big. Canada is listed as the second largest country in the world with a land size of approximately 9,984,670 kilometers square, and of that their water percentage equals 8.12%. The Netherlands, however, has a land size of 41,534 kilometers square, which makes it rank 131st with a water percentage of 18.1. Also, when it comes to water, that's another really interesting fact. Canada, they say, has approximately 20% of the world's fresh water, but that's not actually true. The reason for this is because further studies have been done and they've discovered that Canada actually has about 7% of the renewable fresh water that is in the entire world. So let's move on and let's take a look at government, because the government, although is very similar in these two nations, it is also very different as well. Both do classify as what is known as a parliamentary constitutional monarchy. However, the Netherlands is a unitary parliamentary constitutional monarchy, and Canada is a federal parliamentary constitutional monarchy, which means that both countries do have kings and queens, believe it or not. My fellow Canadians out there, you may be surprised to actually know this fact. Canada has what is known as a governor general and a prime minister, while the Netherlands also has a prime minister and a handful of deputy prime ministers, as well as a vice president of Council of States. But back to monarchy, when it comes to the Netherlands, they have King William Alexander, who serves as King of the Netherlands. But for Canada, it's a little bit different when it comes to our monarchy, because although we do recognize Queen Elizabeth II as our queen, the difference is that in Canada, the Queen remains what is known as the nation's head of state, but does not actually have any powers within Canada. And therefore, she's more or less kind of symbolic because Canada was formed pretty much out of the Commonwealth. But as for King William Alexander of the Netherlands, he is also the head of state but has control of the government. Also, the major difference between King William is he doesn't actually have control of the military. And that actually goes to the government of Netherlands, which is his cabinet, which is basically the deputy prime ministers. In Canada, however, Queen Elizabeth is actually listed as the commander-in-chief of the military. But however, her choices are represented by the Governor General. Now, this is one that I didn't even know. Believe it or not, in Canada, when it comes to the Prime Minister, there is no set cutoff time of how long somebody can actually be Prime Minister for. To give you an example, William Lyon Mackenzie was Prime Minister for 21 years, but however, to keep this in check, Prime Minister elections are held every 4th year on the 3rd Monday of October. However, within the Netherlands, the maximum parliamentary term within the country is 5 years, and therefore every 4 years the elections begin. Okay, so we got government out of the way. We're going to talk about one of my favorite things, and this is food. I love it. Now, Canada is obviously very North American in its diet. Of course, we love our burgers. We love barbecues in the summertime. We will eat McDonald's. We will eat fast food. We will eat Mexican food. We have Indian food. We got a lot of diversity when it comes to our diet. But one of the biggest things that Canada is known for is poutine, which, by the way, guys, is absolutely amazing. It stems from like French Canada. I think it comes from Montreal. It's basically French fries with cheese and a lot of gravy. And actually, some people go crazy. They put stuff like pulled pork and other meats and stuff like that in. We're kind of nuts with our poutine. Now, jumping over to the Netherlands, they, of course, have adopted some American-style foods. Of course, guys, because you can still go and buy a McDonald's there. It's really not hard to find. However, in the Netherlands, traditionally they have what is known as 3 different regional cuisines, such as Western, Southern, and Northeastern cuisine. But one of my favorite things that actually comes from the Netherlands, it is a Dutch food, and it is just a great delicacy. That is stroopwafel. And basically, it is a baked waffle with syrup in between, and it is fantastically delicious. But that's not the only thing that they're famous for. Believe it or not, cheese is one of their biggest things. And if you've ever had Gouda cheese, yo, that comes from the Dutch. Because for the Dutch, they've actually been making cheese since approximately 800 BC. And as well, they are considered the largest cheese exporter of any country in the world. And some of the cheeses, like Gouda or Edam, are cheeses that are named after the cities that they originated from. Which, by the way, guys, I've never actually had Edam. I think that's how you pronounce it, cheese. So if you guys are killing me down there in the comment section below, I'm totally fine with you guys ripping me apart on how to pronounce that. I do know here in Canada we pronounce it Gouda, but Edam, maybe it's Edam. Edam raw, yeah. Also, you know, if we're on the same sort of topic of food, we got to talk about one of the biggest food times a year, if that makes any sense, and that is Christmas. Yo, everybody loves to eat at Christmas, am I right? Now in Canada for Christmas dinner, you will have a turkey, usually with mashed potatoes and stuffing and other vegetables. And that is just a very common North American thing. We also do it during Thanksgiving as well. One thing that we do have that's not too common, it used to be a big thing, and that is fruitcake. And that obviously also comes from the UK as well, at least their style of fruitcake. However, in the Netherlands, for what they called Kerstfest, which is Christmas, it is common to see seafood meats like eel, shrimp, and salmon, which is also a big one. Of course, turkey is big there as well as duck and wild boar. But one thing that I found that was a little different is some houses will have deep fried ice cream for dessert. I'm wondering why we don't do this at my house. Yeah. And speaking of Christmas, when it comes to the Netherlands, they have a major difference compared to Canada. First of all, during Christmas, they kind of actually have 2 Santa Clauses. It's very, very weird, and I'm going to get into that. Known as Sinterklaas, he arrives on the 5th, and that is the day where you have a big feast, and then on the 6th, you open gifts. Also within the Netherlands, believe it or not, doing blackface on the holiday is actually a widely accepted thing. Now, before anybody goes crazy in the comments section below, because people will, let's just understand the origins and why they do it. Because for this thing, people dress up as the elves known as Black Peets, who are Santa Claus's little helpers in the Netherlands, also known as Zwart Piet. And before anybody gets really upset about it, just understand the reason they say that they do the blackface is because the character goes down the chimney and he gets soot all over him. So it's not really a racist thing. But as for the second Santa Claus, who they call Kerstman, he's very much like the Santa Claus in North America. He comes on the 24th, and the 25th is Christmas Day. So I've actually heard that Sinterklaas is actually more popular within the country. I don't know if you guys are from that country and you guys celebrate Sinterklaas over Kerstman or Santa Claus. Let me know down there in the comment section below. Either way, guys, that is just a look at some of the differences between these 2 amazing, great nations. I really love the Netherlands. And first of all, for all you guys who are my viewers out there that are from the Netherlands, all you Dutch folk, really gotta love you guys taking the time and learning stuff with me about different countries and cultures. It's been great. You guys have been awesome. And for all you new Canadian viewers, we don't do a lot of videos on Canada. I don't really know why. We don't get a lot of people who really watch them. But thank you guys for taking the time and tuning in. Also, if it's your first time here, hit that subscribe button. And if you guys want a part 2 to this, because I just feel there's so much more information about the differences between these 2 nations that we could just keep on going and going and going and going. We didn't get into militaries or, schooling or hospitaling or anything like that. There's so many differences that we could talk about. So let me know down there by hitting those like buttons, or just let us know down there in the comment section below. Also, let me know where you're from down there in the comment section below. And of course, I will see you guys in the next one. Okay? Bye-bye. Thanks for watching. So you made it to the end of my difference between Canada and the Netherlands video. Well, first of all, check out our most recent video. I think you guys will really like this one. And on top of that, why don't you check out our countries playlist and learn about different countries around the world. It's really great to expand your mind, and I think you guys will like it. Okay, we'll see you later. Bye.